So you ready to have some fun? Learn about AR and VR? I'm very excited to introduce all our speakers today. Our first speaker, Hiren Bhinde, got his master's in computer science here, so shout out to the Watson School, well done. And he leads Qualcomm's VR and AR programs, multifunctional teams across 3 different continents. He's really been a shining example of what Binghamton students can do when they get out there. He's been a critical member of the company's Android team, collaborating with Google to launch the first Android and Nexus devices. He's helped commercialize hundreds of unique Android devices in China, India, and Southeast Asia. And he's developed on-device video playback and streaming tools. And in the conversation I was fortunate to have with him last night, he's an enthusiastic sponsor and developer of VR and AR technologies. So, Hiren, come on up, and I'm looking forward to your talk.
I want to talk about my journey so far. It's Alum Day. We have a lot of alumni here today. I am just not an alumni. And I want to state this because we are here in 2017, October, and it's very important for me to say that I'm just not an alumni. I am a classic example of a Binghamton, an international alumni. I came here 15 years ago from India, and the first place where I placed my footsteps out on the US soil was at Binghamton Airport. I flew Bombay, London, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Binghamton. And the journey to Binghamton was just about 30 hours. And I know that it hasn't changed a lot because now I do travel to Asia pretty often for work. And I was talking to somebody else yesterday that in about 14 hours from home, I'm able to reach China or Taiwan, but it took me about 8.5 hours yesterday to reach Binghamton. But the thing is, when I came here, Binghamton for me was what the US represented for the first 2 years of my life. And the beauty of it was, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this Friendship Family program. So there's a Friendship Family program where students are welcomed by a Friendship Family. And there was I signed literally the last day. It was the day before our inauguration or the orientation, and I signed the last day, and I was appointed this family called as Ashers. And it was amazing. I was introduced to the American culture, and during our conversations, we realized that the values of the United States and India were just about the same. We all loved peace. We just loved family values, and I was very well welcomed here. So that helped build my foundation. I was 22 years old back then. That helped build the foundation of me as a human being. And then my 2 years here in Watson School helped build my foundations as a technology guy, as an engineer. And me working day and night at places like Hinman and Newman dining services at Sodexo helped build a lot of other values as well. The point being, this is home for me now. It's been 16 years. But I owe a lot of gratitude to Binghamton University to making me who I am. And I must say, I have a gratitude to this place. And I thank you all, because even when I come here today, I've been speaking to a lot of international students over the past 48 hours. It's just amazing that this place hasn't changed. And thank you very much for that. My journey began from Binghamton. I went to San Diego to meet a friend of mine, and it was April of 2003. I was wearing a heavy jacket. It was 15 inches of snow here. I walk out of San Diego airport, and I come out, and I'm wearing a heavy jacket, and my friend comes to pick me up, and he's in an Abercrombie t-shirt and shorts and a car with the windows down, and I'd never been in a car with the windows rolled down in Binghamton. And I see palm trees, and I see the breeze, and I could go to the beach, and I said, I have to find a job here. And so while all my friends were looking out for jobs in Seattle at Microsoft or Bloomberg in NYC, which hires a lot out of Binghamton, my aim in life at that point was to find something in San Diego. And fortunately, I was blessed to get a job at Qualcomm. I started as an intern. I developed engineering tools for the first 4 years, and then I realized that I was good at my job, but I wanted to do something else. I wanted to communicate with people. I wanted to interact with people. I wanted to go out and work on projects and take a step back and think about products. And so I took a step back. I was asked to work on this project where some search engine company in the Bay Area was working on this new operating system called Android, and it was going to be hopefully something. So I started working on that, and I helped launch the first Google Android device and the first Nexus device. And I did product management for about 5 years. And then I decided to pursue my MBA up at Berkeley. And I graduated 2 years ago, about 3 years ago, and then had this opportunity to start leading augmented reality and virtual reality. AR and VR has been a pretty core component of my career life over the past 2 years. And that's been my journey from the career perspective. One of the other things that I have a lot of gratitude towards Binghamton for is I met my wife here. And out of all places, meeting an Indian girl from the same city where I was, right here in Binghamton, was destiny. Today we have 2 beautiful kids, a 6-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old boy, and they're beautiful because they take it from their mom, thankfully. So here I am, as I said, an international alumni who came here 15 years ago. This is home for me, and I want to thank Binghamton University, the president, James, Peter, Bill, Courtney, and everybody else who's here, who's helped make this day happen. So thank you very much. And now let's start with tears. So I hope I am able to inspire, educate, and resonate the values of the technology aspect as well as what AR, VR is. So a show of hands, how many of you actually are aware of what augmented reality and virtual reality is? Wow, I think we can just, okay, all right. So, okay, let's start with the fundamentals first. Virtual reality is where it creates physical presence in the virtual world. Most of the devices out here today look something like these. You wear the devices and you are occluded from the external world. So if you're wearing a device like this, and if you find yourself in the middle of Manhattan, finding yourself seeing the Times Square building, and then seeing the Disney store on your left, and the Hard Rock Cafe on the right, and you're wearing your glasses, you're sitting right here in Binghamton, in your living room, you're wearing the headset, and you have your headphones on, and you're able to see the Times Square building, you look on the left, you look on the right, and you're able to get a virtual world experience where you're sitting right there. So you have nothing to do with reality at that point, except that you are in reality, but you're watching or you're having a true immersive experience. That's virtual reality. Augmented reality is where you have glasses like these, and when you wear these glasses, I could still see the real world, but then I do have virtual objects. So how many of you are aware of Pokemon? I guess so. So when you wear glasses, let's say if you're wearing glasses and you find a virtual dinosaur or having a telepresence of somebody sitting here right here on the chair, except that those people aren't there. But the key difference in augmented reality is that you're augmenting virtual objects in the real world while you're also able to see the world. Are you guys with me? There is going to be a quiz at the end of this. He hasn't told you guys, so please make sure you're with me here. Virtual glasses, you wear it, you don't see the real world. Augmented reality, you're wearing glasses, you're able to see the real world. Now, there's a lot of terms. So first, VR. How is VR going to help? There's going to be, it's going to be able to help you play, learn, communicate. Play. I mean, you're going to wear glasses, you'd be having games where you could actually not only like the video games that are there today or any sort of interactive engagements that you have is where you have on a frame of a 14-inch laptop or a 13-inch laptop or your smartphone. Now you're wearing glasses and you cannot just see this frame, but you could see up, left, right, at the back. Now imagine that instead of using keys, you're wearing headset and let's say it's a game of where you're a cop. So instead of just navigating through the keyboards, you could actually walk in the game and find yourself and actually be a part of the experience. So instead of just having a connected experience, you have now an immersive experience. Learning, immersive education, you could wear glasses and you could understand more about any field that you want. We'll get into some of these examples. Communicate, social interactions. Imagine I live in San Diego, some of you are in Binghamton. If you want to have a virtual chat, we wear our individual glasses and meet in a virtual world. So instead of just having text messaging on a Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, you're actually meeting in a virtual world and interacting with each other. AR will serve a spectrum of roles in daily lives where you're wearing glasses, you could, as I gave an example of people playing, let's say this is a university, this would be a splendid example where let's say I'm a geography teacher, or I'm just a teacher who wants to teach my students about the solar system, and all my students are wearing glasses, and instead of showing them a book or a picture, I say, all right, students, look at the solar system, and the solar system comes up here in the air, and instead of showing them pictures of the sun and the earth, I say, all right, let's walk to the Saturn. Let's walk to the planet Saturn. Let's see how the rings look up close. Let's see why they're different. I read something, I'll remember 50%. I write something, I'll remember about 70%. I do something, and I will never forget. These kind of experiences are going to be delivered through AR glasses. Now, across the planet, because AR, VR is new and niche, different companies are using different terminologies. There's VR and AR, there's mixed reality, there's merged reality, and we have, I work at Qualcomm, so we are aligning ourselves to one of these industry forum terminologies called as XR, which is extended reality. So this is reality. We are all seeing here each other. There's no virtual objects. Anybody seeing any virtual objects right now? I just want to make sure. So this is the real world. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is virtual reality, where you're wearing glasses. You're not seeing anybody in the real world, but there's virtual objects. So think of these two as two ends of the spectrum. Everything that comes between these, it's all encompassed under this umbrella of XR, or extended reality. XR is the next mobile compute platform, and it's going to take care of all these different fields, and we'll get into some of these: industrial, manufacturing, healthcare, education, under the XR paradigm over the next decade and a half. Why do we think that XR is the next mobile compute platform? Imagine how things have changed over the past 3.5 to 4 decades. How many young people are here in the audience who had interacted with mainframes? Pretty young people. So mainframes were something for people who are like 17 or 20 years old. In case you don't know what mainframes are, these used to be like big computers that used to occupy rooms and used to do some basic computes that used to happen in about hours, but now it takes a few seconds to have the same amount of compute. Now those mainframes, from mainframes we moved to PCs. You are all aware of what PCs are. And from PCs, we moved to smartphones. And from smartphones, if you see, the devices are becoming smaller, the compute is becoming more complex, and now the compute is going to go where it's always been. How do we interact with this compute? We look at stuff. We interact with it through our eyes. And it's all going to go it's gone from mainframe to PCs. There is the first wave, second wave, the third wave has been the smartphones. And now from here, it'll go right in front of your eyes, which would be what is also popularly known as spatial computing. And that's what AR, VR is all about. It's gone through these phases, and everything that we've learned on smartphone is going to be leveraged for XR. Will smartphone become an XR kind of a wearable device or glasses? That's something that we strongly feel we are, and I know that some of my colleagues here as speakers are also going to cover more about this today. Again, young people in the audience. How many people used the first few phones that came out, the mobile phones which were like this big and had buttons that looked like these? In the late 1980s, yes sir. Can we have a big round of applause for this young gentleman right here? So we've used devices like these, and we've come to devices like this here today. And we've seen the phones go from through a different technology revolution that we've seen over the past 15 years. And we are confident that XR is also going to go through the same phase. XR is here today because the devices that you see today are still in the process of becoming sleeker. And that's just not something that I feel because I'm working on this technology. This has been shared by some of these other gentlemen who lead the industries and big companies. Mark Zuckerberg, we can't build the AR product that we want today, so building VR is the path to getting to those AR glasses. Tim Cook, Apple CEO, I regard AR as a big idea. Like the smartphone, I think AR is that big, it's huge. Tom Hodges, who's the CEO of Deutsche Telekom, AR is exciting. Such devices could eventually replace smartphones. So it's going to follow a similar 10 to 20 year cycle. It's going to be going to go towards sleeker designs, more powerful experiences as we move forward. The types of devices that are there today. Today there's a tethered HMD device where you wear a device and it's connected to a PC. And that's the device which are popularly like the HTC Vive, Oculus Rift. That's one category of devices. There's these other two category of devices which are smartphone XR, where you could wear just a viewer and insert the smartphone in there, or use your phone for AR experiences. Apple recently announced something called as AR Kit. Google recently announced something called as AR Core. They are the smartphone experiences. And standalone devices, the device like this right here, does not require you to be connected to any cables. You could use it in any room. It's a truly mobile device. My work has been purely on the right two sides because the future of XR is within Qualcomm's DNA, which is mobile and wireless. It is going to revolutionize industries and enterprises, as I just shared with you. I gave you an example of education and how students could interact with the solar system. Let me give you another example, which is something that has been in my thoughts, especially over the last 8 to 10 days since the horrific event in Vegas. Imagine the first responders' glasses that they're wearing today. They're wearing glasses to save themselves from any sort of heat. Now, imagine wearing glasses like these a few years from now, which would have 4G, 5G connectivity, which would have a rear camera, which would have an optoelectronic night vision, which would have eye tracking cameras, recording cameras, and all in glasses, just like some of you are wearing right now. The glasses like these today can provide the similar sort of functionality, but imagine the designs to be much sleeker and having all these different functionalities. But what's the use of that? How would it be used? So let me give you a peek through these eyes now. Let's say I'm a first responder and there's fire at a floor in a hotel, and I go to the hotel, and as I'm walking through this hallway, I realize somebody's calling for help. I know what's the temperature here because there's fire in this room. It's 457 Fahrenheit. At the same time, on the right side here, I know that through a rear camera, one of my other colleagues is already helping someone who's been saved. I also have a building map floor that shows me what's happening on different floors. Can you imagine the possibilities of what could be done here? And again, although we're wearing glasses, if most of you have experienced AR or VR, it's not, although the glasses are right near your eyes, the experience of seeing these are as if they are at a distance of about 6 feet or 9 feet or 3 feet based on the application. Imagine having this sort of help all the time for just somebody on the first transponder side. Now, that's just one example of how this could be done. These technologies and use cases will evolve from mobile. Let me just take a quick break here. So far, we've seen what AR and what VR is, the difference between that. We've seen how and why XR will replace or will be the next mobile computing platform. And the next part, we saw a couple of examples. Now what I'd like to do is just give you a glimpse into all the technologies that have to come and fall in place to make that happen. Phones. It's 2017 right now. In 2002, when I came to the United States, I had a Sanyo phone, which was the flip phone, and I was excited because that was the latest technology and I could do something which was very essential: make calls from anywhere that I want. Today, the smartphone, sometimes we don't even use phones to make calls right now. We use it more for texting and WhatsApp and Facebook, and it's more of a communication, connection, interactivity device. And now, the way it has happened is over the past 14 years, technologies in camera, technologies like camera, like display, the touch screen, apps ecosystem have all come together to provide the experience that you have today. Are you guys with me? 15 years ago, a device could only make a phone call. Today, the reason you can take pictures, selfies, is all because the camera technology has become really well. The display technology has become really well. The voice activation technology has become really well. Now, think of the example that I gave you, and if you see that for AR glasses and VR HMD, it's following a similar path. AR glasses, it's also moving from the experiences that are coming from smartphones. VR is also coming from gaming consoles, laptops, and PCs. Now, in order for these technologies to fall in place, there are, at a very high level, from an experience perspective, there are these three pillars that needs to be taken care of: immersive, cognitive, and connected. Immersive is to have a true immersive experience. The example that I gave you about, imagine wearing glasses and being in New York, seeing the Hard Rock Cafe and the Disney Store and the Times Square building. Right now, when I see all of you, when you guys see me, I have clear vision. There's something where I'm seeing in 2020 vision. I have this full field of view where I'm looking at you right now, but I could still see the rest of the room. And it's clear. That sort of clarity in technology needs to be there. Today, we're moving from 2K to 4K to 8K. The evolution of that clarity of display and graphics needs to happen. Cognitive. How many of you use an Android phone today? Right. So as you start walking, sometimes the Android phone says, the traffic is 17 minutes slower than what it was today. How do you know? How do you know it's time for me to go home? The devices are becoming much more intelligent. Most of you must have heard of something called as machine learning and artificial intelligence. These are some of the technologies that are helping make that happen, and that needs to become stronger. Machine learning and AI is a completely different field, but sometimes it's overused. It's like, it's like gluten-free. 80% of people want to eat gluten-free food, but they have no clue what it really means. So machine learning and AI is becoming something like that. But at a very high level, devices are becoming much more intelligent. And that's the cognitive aspect. Connected. If I am wearing these glasses, let's say I'm visiting here Binghamton right now in October. My wife's back in San Diego. And she's been asking me for the past 3 to 4 years, we should make a trip to New York to see fall colors. I'm here, she's not. If I could wear those glasses, and while walking in some of the areas here in our university, if I could just live stream, instead of having a phone and doing this, if I could just wear these glasses or a 360 camera, and she could wear glasses and she could just look around, live stream it, you need tons and tons of data to be uploaded and downloaded over the air. So that sort of connectivity needs to happen. If you think about what's happened over the past 15 years, sending data was sending text messages. That was 15 years ago. Now, sending data is sending streaming videos, Netflix, sending videos on messengers like WhatsApp, Facebook, and all this needs to be sent up the air. It's basically having bigger pipes to send data, and 5G is one of the future technologies that will help make that happen. So let me give you an example. So if I'm walking in Portugal, and if I'm just walking through the streets, I'm an American citizen, I'm walking through the streets, and I like my coffee, I like my cappuccino, or I like my espresso, I want to know what the weather is in Fahrenheit, not in Celsius. As I'm walking this, first my glasses should be able to detect what's really out there. It should recognize, track, map, and reconstruct surroundings as I'm walking. As it walks, the device should actually say, okay, here's a cable, here's a cable car, here's a cafe, here's a taxi, here's a passenger boarding, here's the 18th street, the temperature right now is 98 Fahrenheit. As I'm walking, and not really disturbing my vision, but just giving me this data, and then somebody, my intelligent assistant telling me, hey, Hiren, hey, Tim, catch this trolley to take you to the next tour. This one also has air conditioning available. I need my air conditioning from San Diego. I'm sorry about that. So 5G enhanced mobile broadband is required to take VR, AR experiences to the next level. So there's the immersive experience, having the right kind of display technology, having the right kind of video technology, having the right kind of audio technology. George Lucas says 50% of any movie experience comes from the audio. So having all these technologies, imagine having this experience about New York and finding a cab going from this end of this end to the other end. You'll first hear the cab from here, and then you'll hear the cab from here. That sort of experience in the audio world needs to happen. It needs to map those objects, different parts of the room, and give you that experience. That's when it will be a true immersive experience. So again, it was immersion, it was cognitive, intelligent, machine learning, AI, and of course, connectivity. I work at Qualcomm. We are accelerating the adoption of VR, AR. We have our own chipset that we are building. We have our own SDK, and we have devices like these that we work with the rest of the ecosystem, like Google Pixel for daydream devices, standalone devices in China, folks like Lenovo, Asus, Motorola, and we are building multiple devices with Google, HTC Vive, and rest of the ecosystem that we'll be announcing soon in the next few weeks. VR and AR, as I said, will push connectivity requirements. We touched base to that. I won't spend much time here. In summary, XR is the next mobile computing platform. XR is here today, but it's in its infancy. Just like the devices for smartphones that we saw, there was this evolution over a period of 15, 20 years, and it will follow the same path. Advancements are required to make XR optimally immersive, cognitive, and connected. Qualcomm will continue working on this. This is something that we have. Last but not the least, this is a thought that I'd like to leave you all with. You cannot depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus. There's this famous saying that you say, we always say that you have to see it to believe it. But one thing that you see, the way technology breakthroughs have happened and the way the world is changing, you have to believe it to see it. So it starts from a belief. And the belief here is that definitely the technology landscape is changing. We at Binghamton here need to align in all ways possible, and I'm extremely proud of the stuff that folks like Matt are doing in these entrepreneurship abilities and capabilities coming out of this place, and some of the stuff that's coming out of Watson to align towards this. Thank you very much, and once again, I am extremely humbled, honored, and proud to be here because this has been home. This is where it all began, and thank you very much for having me here. Appreciate it.